July work session meeting. And I'm going to ask Ms. Anaya to read the Open Public Meetings Act statement, please.
On Thursday, January 14, 2021, notice of this meeting was mailed to the press and the current of Egg Harbor Township. Notice was also delivered that day to the Egg Harbor Township clerk and posted on the bulletin board in Township Hall. Advertised instructions for this hybrid meeting were posted on our website and on social media on Friday, July 16, 2021.
Thank you. May we have roll call?
Ms. Alabarda is here virtually. On that screen, she's waving. I take that as present. Mrs. Bird?
Present.
Mr. Della Barca?
Here.
Mr. Ireland?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Here.
Mrs. Salagi?
Here.
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd? Mr. Castellano?
Here. Mrs. Gilbert Floyd had a family emergency. She will not be here this evening. Okay. Can we please all stand for the flag salute? Well, thanks again, everyone, for coming out. I'm glad to see we have a full house. I know we have a number of groups to recognize and celebrate tonight. All good. And, of course, right now we have two main focuses, our summer programs and getting ourselves ready for a strong start in the fall. So with that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to our superintendent, Dr. Gruccio, for her reports.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm sitting here reviewing how quickly this year went, and it's been a tough year. But here we are in the middle of July. The year is more than halfway over. We are a month out of graduation already, and truly in the middle of the heat of the summer. So happy summer, and hopefully everybody's keeping cool. I'll give a quick update on COVID activity. Our county is in the status of green. We have 4 district cases as of today. Masks are being worn on our buses and in our schools until students get to their desk. Vaccinated folks are becoming more and more in our district, and changing guidance is still occurring. So we are keeping in tune with the CDC, the state, the governor's guideline, and American Pediatrics. All right. We still do not have an update for guidance for this September. So again, we are waiting to hear more. Our pandemic teams will meet to discuss, and we will have more information in our August meeting. Okay, so we still have a big wave to ride and to ride this thing through. All right. So as Mr. Castellano said, we have some presentations this evening and some recognitions, and I usually don't come to the floor in a work session, but I'm going to do so in just a minute. But Mr. Santilli, if you can bring up the presentation. We are going to begin with athletics. Okay, so I'm going to share a proposal that I had shared with the policy committee and also with the rec commission, representatives from the rec commission and the Egg Harbor Township mayor and town administrator. So high school field proposal, if you were with us when I shared the state of the schools, this was a topic in the state of the schools. Moving into a new school year, moving into a new strategic plan, and being the forward thinker that I was hired to be, I will continue to look forward, and I will continue to look at ways where we can expand the great services that we have for our students academically, athletically, and then finally performing arts. Okay, so. All right, so maybe our technology isn't working real well today. Mr. Santilli? Click.
Dr. Charlton touched that earlier and it's probably off.
Yeah, I turned it off and on. Okay, so the current status of our fields at the high school, have been informed over the last year or so, and it is getting worse. Our grass areas are diseased with a virus that is taking over the grass that would need to be addressed very, very soon. The grass is disappearing and being taken over by a virus. The wear and tear on these fields over the many, many years that our athletes have played on them, and if you're familiar with the athletics in its entirety, that we overlap use of our fields. So I'll show you some examples where field hockey and lacrosse overlap, softball overlaps with a piece of the field hockey field. In our football, practice field overlaps with track. So the continuous use has stressed them and has warrant repair, and some fields we could not use last year even for practice. So you can ask the football coach about that. Next. So this is what I'm talking about in far as overlap. So if you're familiar again, well, with the layout, up to your left is the JV baseball field where the soccer field sits on top. Moving to the center, you have a JV softball field where you have another soccer field that sits on top. Moving over to the right, you have a softball field where the field hockey field sits on top, and over to the very right there is another small field hockey practice field. Looking down on the bottom here is the practice football field. That is in purple. So those areas are more so your fall sports. In the springtime, the green areas are where the spring sports come on, and you'll see the baseball fields, the softball fields, and then the lacrosse field that goes horizontal across the top, down in the bottom, or your field events for track and field. All right, so it's dual use at a group for high school, and it's really taken an impact on the fields. Next slide. So what I had proposed a couple years ago in the state of the schools is to utilize the area to the right of the D-Wing parking lot. If you can, I'm going to say until if you could maybe point. I do have a pointer. There you go. There you go. Good job. To the lower right there, in front of the high school main parking lot is there, but to the right, students would know this spot is where we have the bonfire, but there is a strip of land there where we looked into this, and actually our facilities director, who's quite handy with plans and architecture, was able to show us that we can fit 5 full-size fields in there, and we labeled them as full soccer fields because a soccer field is 120 by 60. It is the largest fields that we have to line and that our students play on. So with no further ado, those 5 fields would fit into that area. We've had discussions of perhaps utilizing a field as something else, a turf field, a playground area, but for conversation purposes, we're looking to utilize that land that's there in front of high school. We've also talked about putting a walking path around there so that the community can use that. So I'm sharing that with the public here, I'm sharing that with the full board because I did share this with the township and asked, like, one of our district learning goals is to form community partnerships. One of my goals here as superintendent has always been to form partnerships with the township for our students, for our community. So this area would be utilized not only by the school district until 4:30, 5 o'clock when our teams would need this area to rest the other fields or so we can address the diseases on the other field. But then after hours, the township would have access to soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, adult sports, flag football, and hopefully that someday we can partner and light up that area so that activity can go until late in the evening, 10, 11 o'clock at night. So I think it would be a nice venture to engage in, but I just want to make sure that I am sharing what I have shared, sharing my innovation, and sharing the possibility that if all parties agree that this could be something that we have coming to our high school. So I want being transparent, I am sharing what has been shared. So the ultimate plan for the athletic fields at the high school would be to have every sport have its own field. So there was some reconfiguration done where the baseball JV field was moved up top to the left. You can see it adjacent to the varsity field. We have field hockey that would move, but in the middle there you see a strip of pavement. This would involve a drainage problem, which we have, we are experiencing. We did address some of it at the entrance of the track, the old track there. That's a picture of the old track. We know that from the color, but we had extreme damage at the entry and extreme damage on the turf itself that it needed to be replaced before its lifespan. So to avoid that, we're looking at a drainage area, and we're also looking at putting more restrooms out into the center. So this would be the ultimate plan. Again, we are engaging in a new strategic plan, year one. We are engaging in a new school year. So I am sharing here in the middle of the summer the plans and the vision that I have as your superintendent. Next. Okay. Alrighty, so that is the plans that we have moving forward. And right now, sticking with the theme of athletics, it's time to recognize some very, very important people who have made us very, very proud. Still doesn't work. Okay, so I stand here very proud as superintendent of schools to have the privilege.
Dr. Griccio, for those at home, the microphone, please.
Sure, Chandra, I will. See, they boss around all day long. Ready? Test. Can I stand here proud again? Okay. To be able to honor and recognize state champions. Not everyone gets to do that. Not everyone, most people don't get to be that. They do not get to be a state champion. It's not an easy task. And, you know, the recognition here is probably beyond my words, but it's important to let everyone know that, you know, it's easy to just, you know, we think that students, they just go out and run and they chase each other and, you know, they do it enough, they'll get fast enough. And that's not the case, because these students have put a lot of time and effort in it, along with their coaches and their managers. They were out there in the cold, they were out there in the wind, they were out there in the rain, they were out there in the heat. Okay, they were out there when we were home on the weekends, all right? So I just want to, I can't emphasize it much, the time and the efforts that have been put into the achievement here, so that our high school girls track team for the very first time have earned their status as state champions. They represent the town of Egg Harbor Township. They represent the school of Egg Harbor Township High School, and all of us sitting here. So we're very proud. But it's something that will forever be for this group of young ladies and their coaches. And, you know, and I want it to be forever be, because they broke records and they've set a high standard, and it's first time. So state champions, sectional champions, they've been Atlantic County, they have Atlantic County champions on this team, Cape Atlantic All-Stars, South Jersey All-Stars, County All-Stars, Press of Atlantic City All-Stars. Press of Atlantic City named Lauren Prince as Runner of the Year. Press of Atlantic City named Coach Erica Vasquez as Coach of the Year. And we have college signings, because most importantly, their efforts and their participation recognized by colleges and have earned them college scholarships at Penn State, Rider University, Monmouth University, and Ursinus College, just to name a few. Okay, so I just want to make sure that recognition is there. If I can now ask the coaching staff and Coach Erica Vasquez to join me. Okay. And her coaching staff. High School, if you'd like to join us, as I turn the microphone over to our proud Coach of the Year. And again, this gold hardware right here, not every high school gets to display. Sometimes you get blue and sometimes you get silver, but this is gold.
Good evening. I would like to thank Dr. Gruccio, along with Central Administration, and our Board of Education members, and everyone here tonight for coming out tonight to celebrate this talented group of student athletes. The love and support given to our team from the EHT community has been amazing. I would personally like to thank you all. This is a wonderful town, and it has been an honor to be the head coach of this outstanding group of young women. These girls are the epitome of champions. Their hard work, dedication, teamwork, commitment, and heart have led them all season. They have represented EHT and have made us all extremely proud. Along with my coaching staff, Coach Swift, Coach Moody, Coach Hepburn, Coach Mateo, and Coach Egley, I would like to present for the first time in school and program history your Group 4 track and field state champions. Unfortunately, a few of our girls cannot be here tonight, but I did want to acknowledge them. Elizabeth Morrow is our manager. Alexa Burns, Lindsay Dodd, and Taylor Rooney and Brielle Smith, unfortunately, could not be here tonight, but again, I just wanted to say their names and honor them for being part of our team. All right, so we will start with Sarah. Or is there a certain order you want me to go, or?
Well, let's
Start with me? Okay. Adam Swift, Coach Adam Swift. Coach Sharice Hepburn. Coach Sean Mateo. Coach Steve Egley. There she is. And Coach Kayla Moody. All right. Sure. Okay. First, Isabel Cheeseman. Oh, sure. Stay up here too, okay, Izzy? Stay up here with us. Next is Kate Canella, who is one of our captains. Congratulations. Valencia Melham, who is also a captain. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Lindsay Dodd, who could not be here tonight. Next is Adeline Umflett. Sarah Rutledge. And another athlete who could not be here, Brielle Smith. And Alexa Burns as well. All right, Lindsay Taylor. Taylor Rooney could also not be here tonight. All right, so now the athletes that are left, just probably going to say just a little bit about each of them. This young lady was a part of our state champion 4x4 team, Munal Mamadou. Congratulations. Also part of our 4x400 relay team, Jada Malloy. Also part of our 4x4, Alexa Ali. And also 4x4, we have a lot, Julia Alberico. You're welcome. All right, moving on to our state champion 4x100. These girls actually placed first at our sectional meet and also at the state championships. Jada Green. 4x1, just something real fast. They are the fastest 4x1 in the history of Atlantic County. Next, moving on to one of our captains, and also she placed second at the state championship in the discus, Mickey Pomato. He also holds our school record for the discus. And also a New Jersey #1. Moving on to another member of the 4x1, which was a state champion. This young lady also is our sectional state and meet of champion in the triple jump. Mariah Stevens. Mariah is undefeated in the triple jump in the entire state. Senior, yes. Unfortunately. Moving on to another one of our members of the 4x4. She was also part of our 4x1 state champion team. She came in third in the 400 hurdles and fifth in the 400, and she's also a captain, and that would be Ann Rutledge. And our final athlete, this young lady has done an amazing job over the last 4 years. She is a sectional champion in the 100 and 200. She is a state champion in the 100 and the 200, and also the 4x100. She's a meet a champion in the 200. She has multiple records in the state of New Jersey, the school, the county, and she has 9 individual state championship titles for herself, and it's Lauren Prince. Except I think she was the last one here tonight, but just kidding. So I again would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, Dr. Gruccio, Central Administration, and all of our board members. On behalf of our entire coaching staff and our team, thank you again.
So thank you all for making us proud. It's amazing accomplishments. You know, we've shared here meet of champion stats, all groups best of the best. But as Coach said, this girls' track team is the first in South Jersey in 40 years to win, with 2 different girls winning a meet of championship title in the same year. So more accomplishments. I mean, any other school that accomplished this was Willingboro High School back in 1980 and 81. So with Carl Lewis. So, you know, just remember the accolades, remember the accomplishments. No easy task, even though they made it look easy. I just can't say enough of, you know, the efforts that you put forth. I'm sure you made yourselves proud, you made your family proud. Look at all these smiles. And you know what? And you came out in the middle of July to be honored and recognized. And their certificate says, you know, they've been acknowledged and recognized for demonstrating outstanding skills in girls' track and field. So whether it's athletic skill, a managerial skill, or a coaching skill, this was the full package. So really awesome job. You've set the bar. Now everyone after you, you know, they got to run extra fast to be quicker than you. But again, congratulations. And thank you. You want a group picture? But I think first Mr. Castellano, as the president of the board, has something to tell you about a policy that the board has.
Oh, yes. So as state champions, it will be our honor to present each and every one of you with state champion jackets. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you to our coaches so very much.
So when they go, hi Trader. We're gonna have to. You guys like come a little bit more together. Let's like do a little bit of squatting. We'll run squat.
Now look at Nanny. What we're done, Nanny. Yeah. Shout out, Nanny. It's gonna be
It's gonna be on her Instagram. So when we get the jackets?
Thanks, guys. Great job.
You're so tall.
Thank you.
Great job, guys.
Okay, one more recognition here tonight of a student athlete. So Mr. Stetzer, can you come on up, please? Our head football coach, Mr. Kevin Stetzer. He will, hello, how are you? Oh, okay. So this evening, we have an award from the National Football Foundation and the College Hall of Fame, our South Jersey chapter, where our Anthony Rando has been recognized as a scholastic player, and he's voted in based on his outstanding football performance, his academic achievement, and school leadership. So again, talk about a package. This young man has demonstrated, and has excelled in these areas, and well-deserved of recognition. So I didn't want to go get through the summer and get into another season without recognizing Anthony Rando. Can you come on up here? This recognition is usually held at a dinner, which we all get to go to, but because of our COVID situation, we were not able to celebrate at a dinner. So here we are in the Elder Avenue Boardroom to present Anthony with this plaque from the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame, as well as this check for $400 for you.
Just a couple quick things about Anthony. He had a long, winding road with us for football. He faced some adversity. He stepped up at times when, we really needed him. And this year in particular, it was a tough year. We were lucky enough to get some games in, which we were really happy about. But, Anthony's commitment to his team, the school, us as a staff is just immeasurable. He absolutely earned this. He was also one of our team captains. And, he's one of those kids to where, he's someone for the younger guys to look at. He handles himself the right way, on and off the field. And we're really proud of him and certainly going to miss him. So congratulations, my man.
Okay, in conclusion, just another example of hashtag EHT Pride. And, that's why we're here. That's why this board serves this community, and administrators do what they do, teachers do what they do, coaches do what they do, because all for the kids. And you all have really made us proud. So thank you again. All right, I'll turn it over to Ms. Santilli, who has to give a report that's mandated by the state. With that said, anyone who would like to continue this beautiful summer day outside this room, you are more welcome to do that.
Don't worry, you won't hurt our feelings.
Should I
You got one fan in the crowd there.
Dedication.
I want to make her come up and read.
Making sure we all listen to this.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, it must be something I said.
Required briefing.
So I think we could all agree that we like the beginning of 2019, but maybe not the end of 2020. But this is our 1920 final HIB report. Every year, part of the mandate is that we have to report out on our self-assessment. Ultimately, it is usually, as you can see, a year behind. At the end of last year, if you recall, we gave a final HIB presentation based on our work with our anti-bullying specialists. We do an analysis in committee structure within each of the schools to make a determination of how we scored as a school. You can get a total of 78 total points as a district, and as you can see here, we have 75. And of course, what we submitted was approved by the state, and hence this is the HIB final report. And also, just to note, next week we will be giving our final HIB and SSDS report for the 2021 school year. So that will be a more formal presentation next week as well. That completes my riveting report. Mr. Castellano, as you can see, everyone loves it. I'll turn the meeting back over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. As we transition, we are going to move into finance and operations. There was not a committee meeting, but I'm going to ask Ms. Anaya and Mr. Price as well if there are just some updates and items they might want to mention to us, and then we'll take questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing to add to that other than we did not meet in July because there was no action required on any of the agendas. So I have nothing further at this point. I'm going to defer to Ms. Anaya. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price, and you're correct. It's basically annual renewal things. The only thing on this agenda was really the capital reserve withdrawal based on some projects that have been identified that may be able to happen this summer or before school starts. They will be trickling in after that to be work done during breaks, evenings, and then next summer. So that capital reserve withdrawal is coming out of the $10 million that was in the budget and will leave a $7.1 million balance in that pot of money, that bucket. So that's pretty much the highlight. The items are listed there. You do have time if you have questions before next meeting to go ahead and ask us. There was question, one second here, we got the agendas to you guys on Friday. Board was able to review it and come back and ask for clarification on a few items. So I have in finance, there was a question about, and not finance necessarily, but our transportation department. So the transportation report for the month of June included an incident. So sometimes buses are involved in incidents. Sometimes it's our fault, sometimes we're just there, and it's just a blurb on a police report in this particular incident listed. It was our stop sign on our bus was out and somebody went to go around it. Those at home watching, please be safe and stop going around our buses, thank you. It did clip the stop sign and it was an incident that was our fault. No children were harmed, but in this particular incident, the police report will just be filed with our insurance company for replacement of that stop sign. And the other items, I believe, were not in my world, so thank you for that.
Would it make sense to just list out those projects?
Absolutely.
Just so everyone's aware of
Sure.
the things we're gonna, start working on, right away.
Absolutely. So last month, Mr. Burnett presented the items that were identified, showed some pictures. So this particular withdrawal is a replacement of PA systems, which is our public announcement systems. And some of the schools are needing severe repair. We've done all the patchwork we can. They are now becoming a safety issue where you make an announcement and it's not heard in all areas of the building and or outside. Security cameras, we have done a district-wide project for high school, middle schools down to Miller. This last piece is going to cover the elementary schools. which will be funded with the Alyssa's Law grant for $413,000 is what we were actually getting. $412,000 and change this project came out to be, so that was awesome. Flooring throughout the district, so we have VCT tile and carpets in some areas that were identified. That'll be taken care of as well. The high school tennis courts, some serious cracking and disconnecting at some unsafe areas. We would look to resurface, but for just a smidge more, we could actually replace the whole thing. So we decided to replace it. It'll give us more longevity for our investment. District-wide door projects, we did do a bid. It came back way over $1 million. We broke it into 2 different phases. So we prioritized phase 1 being high school and Alder, phase 2 based on our closeout of our audit and any other funds that might be available, we will do, and that's going to be for Davenport and Fernwood exterior doors. District-wide asphalt, some areas to be considered. We're repairing some significant areas, but the one place that is new is Miller will finally, hopefully, have enough parking spaces for the staff. The building was built. They knew how big the building was going to be. They knew the staff demands when they built it. There's never been enough parking. They've been parking in the street. It's not safe. So that's one of the projects for the asphalt. And last but certainly not least is high school storage replacement. The ticket booth that's up front is deemed done at this point. The flooring, it just keeps coming out. We've tried to patchwork that, as well as the shed that has been deteriorating. So we are getting storage bins. If you think of the back of a 18-wheeler, those metal containers, we are getting gently used ones and painting them and putting them underneath the bleachers at the high school, so all the teams will have their storage. We may end up having the boosters branded or something, make it fun, where they have their own storage for their own teams under the bleachers at the high school. So that is this particular withdrawal. Some of the list that was provided last month.
Very good, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments in the area of finance and operations?
With one action item, I should have said
Right.
that.
No,
There is one action item
I
in
got
finance. Okay. That is for out-of-district travel regarding professional development for some staff that happens before next meeting. So we're asking for action at this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Castellano.
Okay, so seeing none, in terms of questions or comments, I'm going to ask, going once? Nope, okay. So I'm going to ask then for a motion on the out-of-district travel 5.2.
Motion.
Second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Alabarda? Yes. Thank you. Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
Mr. Delabarca?
Yes.
Mr. Ireland?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Salagi?
Yes.
And Mr. Castellano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move to curriculum in our committee report. Ms. Alabarda, are you going to be doing this virtually, or what is our plan? Mr. Delabarca is going to be subbing this evening.
Ms. Alabarda asked if I would present the report this evening, so I'll be happy to. On July 13th, 2021, the Curriculum Committee met through Google Meet beginning at 5:00 p.m. In attendance was Ms. Alabarda, Mrs. Gilbert-Floyd, Mrs. Salagi, myself, and Ms. Moss. The agenda items we reviewed were the proposed professional development for staff, including coach training for 2 reading specialists to be district coaches for the comprehensive literacy block. Also field trips for the summer aviation program. Discussion items included our continued partnership with New Jersey CAP to provide presentations around bullying for our students, teachers, and families. We discussed the proposed work to be completed this summer around the mentoring program funded through ESSER 2 and our continued work to identify and provide services for our students around mental health and social emotional learning. We also discussed updates on our summer programs, which are up and running using the New Jersey Food Bank as a partner to provide free food for our students. And upcoming will be more work around evidence-based reporting and a kindergarten transition program for our kindergarten students. And I'll comment about the kindergarten transition program because I have an interest that goes back over 20 years regarding that. We began a transition type program many years ago, and it's good to see that's happening again this year. It's going to include some screening for the kindergarten students parent tours and visits for the parents of incoming kindergarten students. So I think that's really an outstanding addition to what we provide here in the district. We also spoke about allowing exchange students to come into our schools if they have proof of vaccination at least 14 days prior to their arrival. We will continue to work closely with our school physician to validate and confirm those vaccinations. Finally, we discussed the receipt of the PACE grant, which provides our students with pre-apprenticeship work opportunities. Board members, we discussed some of this in our executive session. There will be a full board presentation on this in the near future, but I contribute to our continual discussion on providing opportunities for all of our students, whether it be for college or career readiness. And I want to thank Ms. Moss for preparing this report for me. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, of course, Mr. President, we're available for them.
Are there any questions or comments on curriculum? And I just thank you for the work, and especially you had mentioned meals, and I just want to make everyone aware that although our normal program does not run through the summer, we're partnering with many local organizations to try to get folks assistance in that regard. So if you're in need of that, please reach out to the district. And not only on that front, but if there's anything we can help you with through the summer, whether it's academics, preparing for next year, counseling, please reach out to the district. We're here for you.
Mr. Castellano, I'd also like to add, you're talking about, servicing the community and us being able to do so, and part of Mr. Delabarca's curriculum committee report had to do with, vaccinations, and I wish I remembered this when I had a full house here, but hopefully anybody listening and for the board to know, and we'll see more on social media, that we are continuing our partnership with Atlanticare, and we will be holding a COVID-19 vaccination clinic at Andover Township High School on August 2nd, and then a follow-up on August 24th. All right, just so we know, we will be here for the community if they need to get vaccinated.
Excellent. Yes, please reach out and take advantage of that. So any other comments, questions on curriculum? Seeing none, we do have to approve field trips in state, which is 6.2. May I have a motion?
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Alabarda? Yes. Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
Mr. Delabarca?
Yes.
Mr. Ireland?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Salagi?
Yes.
Mr. Castellano?
Yes. Okay, just moving into personnel, I'm going to ask Charlton, Dr. Charlton, Dr. Charlton, if he has, yeah.
Carlton.
Yeah.
No, I do not, Mr. President.
Anything for a public section? No, he does not. I'm over here being a fool here. He's already finished. All right. Seeing none, then we're going to go ahead into policy, and I'll ask for our committee report.
Thank you. On Tuesday, July 13th, members of the Policy Committee met in person to discuss policy agenda items. Present at the meeting were Mr. Castellano, Mr. Ireland, Ms. Sullivan, Dr. Ruccio, Mr. Santilli, Ms. Anaya, Ms. Amy Halk-Alco, and myself. The following policies and discussions occurred at the meeting and were discussed. Old business consisted of mandated Strauss-Esme updates with the following policies and regulations under review for their second and final reading. Family Leave Policy 1643, Seizure Action Plan Policy and Regulation 5330.5, Seizure Action Plan, Electric Funds Transfer and Claimant Certification Policy and Reg 6170.01, Property Policy, Crowdfunding, which will allow our staff to utilize services such as donor issues, Lead Testing of Water in Schools, Policy 1731, Policy and Reg 7425. New business consisted of mandated Strauss-Esme updates with the following policies and Board of Education approved regulations requiring mandatory revisions as follows. Policy 2431, athletic competition policy and its reg 2431.1, emergency procedures for sports and other athletic activity. This is mandated for the 2021 school year and requires an emergency action plan for serious or life-threatening sports-related injuries sustained while participating in sports or activities be in place for grades 6 through 12. Policy 5330.01, administration of medical cannabis and its regulation, is a mandated policy that outlines the medical administration of cannabis while on school grounds. The updates to this policy include revisions to terminology and definitions and are mandated. Policy 5460.02, Bridge Year Pilot Program, is also a mandated policy developed by the state to address COVID-related disruptions in extracurricular activities. Policy 7420, Hygienic Management, requires a plan for the district to address hazardous chemicals in the workplace and provide training to its staff to prevent exposure to such chemicals. Policy 7432, Eye Protection, requires a plan for the district to implement and enforce eye safety practices in any area that such hazards exist. With the board approval of policies 2431, 2431.1, 7432, 7420, 7440, and 8420, policy and reg 7430 are no longer required and is being recommended for abolishment. Policy 2451, adult high school, is also being recommended for abolishment. While we did receive a Strauss Esme alert for this policy, the district does not have an adult high school program, and it was found that this policy does not match our current offerings. The committee is recommending abolishment. Under outstanding business, policy 7510, use of school facilities, was reviewed and discussed by the committee. There are mandated Strauss Esme updates to the current policy that the committee wished to move forward for approval. At the request of the committee, administration provided us with the financial security and safety impact that opening up our outside facilities to the public would place on the district. We discussed each campus's outside facilities and the feasibility of allowing non-organized use of our courts, playgrounds, and fields. Discussion also centered around neighboring community school districts' use of facility policies and our own township facilities that are open to the public. Most districts have unwritten policies that allow use unofficially. A so to speak look the other way policy is what neighboring districts unofficially lead with. Always forward thinking, Dr. Gruccio met with the township officials earlier last week to gauge their needs in regards to our facility use. Dr. Gruccio shared with the committee current grant opportunities and future partnerships with the township and the recreation department to bridge the vision of allowing public use of school facilities in a way that protects our facilities as well as benefits our community. The committee asked the board solicitor to prepare a draft of the use of facilities policy combined with our playground policy 7513 for discussion at the next meeting. Next month, the committee will update the board on the draft policy and if any public questions or concerns have arisen from that discussion. Finally, policy 7650 for the use of district vehicles was discussed. However, sample policy revisions will be presented at the next committee meeting as requested by a majority of the committee. Next month, the committee will bring recommendations to the full board for discussion. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, comments? Mrs. Sloggy.
Yes, a couple months ago, I had requested that the committee review the class rank with the valedictorian and the salutatorian. Has the committee done that?
We did discuss that on our June agenda, and we tabled it until we have less mandated policies to go over. As from my report, you can see that we have been very busy in June and July, so we were projecting out to have that on our August agenda.
Okay.
So it was discussed, and we just pushed it back, just pending the mandated stuff because we've been so top heavy.
All right, well, I would like to request to be at that meeting. All right, thank you.
Excellent.
Anyone else? Questions or comments?
Mr. Castellano, I just have some questions from the board that would relate to policy.
Sure.
So one of the questions that came in was in regards to field trips and if there was policy for the number of students for chaperones, and what was placed here was 15 students to one chaperone. Basically best practices during the school year, and mainly due to self-coverage, the practice is 10 to 1. However, during summer programs, we do allow for flexibility based off of where the program is going and so on. In addition to that, there was another question, which is somewhat policy related, but there was a question in regards to high school students and the dangers of vaping, whether or not we have literature posted, if we teach students, and mainly because there was a noticed increase to high school suspensions for vaping. Basically, we do utilize the services of our student assistance counselors who have given presentations to the student body as well as staff. This was even occurring during COVID. In addition to that, there is what we would call really PSAs throughout the school, so posters and literature that are displayed. In addition to that, we do have what we would refer to as vape detectors in all of the common bathrooms. Administration at the high school, for instance, has that particular app on their phone. If a vape would go off, a vape detector would go off, it notifies administration, and then of course we would act accordingly and do an investigation, provide due process, and then should there be consequences, of course we would follow up as need be. That concludes the questions. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Okay, I think we're ready now to move into old business, and under 9.2, we've had a request to maybe revisit a little bit of the board norms that we worked on at our offsite. So basically, we're gonna put them here up on the big board, and we'll sort of do some collaboration here and see if we can't improve a bit. So the floor is open. Mr. Ireland.
Okay, so I have one addition to before a meeting. You want me to just read it? Okay.
Sure.
Refer all persons with comments, positive and negative, regarding school district operations to the proper staff person or administrator directly responsible for the operational activity. Focus on the board's role and not be involved in the day-to-day operations of the school system. We will not engage in the resolution of problems. Rather, we will refer these concerns to the superintendent. I think that was important to put that in the before the meeting section.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that? Obviously, Sanaya's not going to be able to type the whole thing. You're going to have to get back with her. Thoughts on that, Mrs. Sullivan?
I don't know if I'm correct in the thinking of this, but I thought if we had a concern, rather than bogging down our administrators, that we went to you first, Mr. Castellano, so that all different board members wouldn't be going to the superintendent. I'm not sure, but I believe that was something we had discussed.
I think what Mr. Ireland's referring to is citizen concerns. So that's what, we, you know,
all right.
We generally go through, you know, we have, we direct folks to go through chain of command, and if they have already done so and it's appropriate, we would, you know, direct them then to our administration.
That is correct.
I think that was right, the referral. I mean,
right, I do understand that, but rather than 9 board members calling the administration, I thought we were going through you. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think for a question, right, for information requests that are not agenda related, they would come in to administration, but, you know, I'd like to be copied on them. So that may be what we were thinking of, to have that as a norm, just so I can keep track of what everyone's concerns are and make sure that they're being, you know, they're being addressed. So I think that may be what we had, was kind of a norm anyway. So if that all makes sense.
I threw two different things on there, and I don't know if this side can see it, so I'm just going to read them if that's okay, to try to trap what just happened. For one is, board questions should be emailed to both the president and superintendent. Does that capture that one? And then the next one says, refer community concerns towards a proper building level, department level, or administration level, in parentheses, chain of command. We can word it different. I'm trying to just, that was a long, I'm trying to, whatever you guys want. You tell me.
Are we okay? Mrs. Bird?
Can we collaborate on a Google Doc?
We can do that.
And for the next work session, no.
Well, that's doing business behind the door, see, yeah, so we can't do that.
That would be everybody having a meeting without the public present.
Could we individually take turns on a Google Doc?
It's still doing business behind the scenes, and I don't know, I don't know, I'll defer to our team.
So can we submit our ideas and then present them in writing at the next work session? Because it's hard. I mean, I have lots of things. I think Mr. Ireland brought some things, other board members brought things, but it's going to take us a long time to work through them all. Is there a more efficient way that we can do it and still publicly go through them, but not maybe edit and formulate during a meeting?
So I think that, yes, one of the things you could do is if everyone has a date that they want to get the information emailed to, and then maybe what we could do is create one document of all the befores, durings, and after, and then we could start edit, take things out, and have a discussion at a meeting. You could certainly do that. But I think the key would be to make sure everybody submits their comments beforehand so the document can be created and then edited from that document. That would be my suggestion, but have it to one point person. I'm open to other ideas, but unfortunately you couldn't collaborate behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to have us collaborate now, personally, but go ahead, Mrs. Sullivan.
I know we already had a board retreat, and that was mostly taken up with training. I'd like to suggest another board retreat because of we need to set our goals, and we need to have a new plan, 5-year plan or 3-year plan or what, because we're just completing our plan that we put in place how many years ago? 4 years ago. So it's about time that we start developing our plan for the next 3 or 4 years. So maybe we could take care of all of that in a board retreat where we're all together.
I think we're going to have a retreat in the near future for board goals and strategic planning. But I was hoping we could at least just finish our norms and then have, leave those other topics for a retreat. I mean, probably more towards the fall, and we concentrate our efforts now on, opening school, but that's flexible.
Are yours electronic?
I agree, that's for you guys to definitely figure out, but when you mentioned board retreat, I wanted to let you know that on September 28th, that is an open Tuesday, that Phil Boyd is going to be in the district working with administration and central administration on climate and culture and team building. And as we did last time, Mr. Boyd came up from North Carolina to meet with us, we extended that into the evening, and we had a board retreat that night. I don't know if some of you recall, we combined our efforts with Summers Point School District, and right in this very room, Mr. Boyd did his thing. So I do want you to know that date is reserved for Mr. Boyd, and you can add on to that. We can meet prior, we can meet after. I mean, he doesn't take up the whole evening, but there is a climate and culture team building piece, if you all agree, for September 28th.
So I think we leave that date, and I think we pencil that date in and we decide exactly what we're going to do with it. I think so. The issue right on the table now is, can we work this evening to finalize some norms going forward? And any other thoughts? Mr. Ireland?
So I kind of agree if we can work through it as best as possible so that we have a better draft, just because we're about to, this is for 2021, 2022. We're about to hit 2022 shortly. And if we move it to September, then we only have a couple more months and then we're in 2022 and we didn't have anything since then.
Mr. President, I have a question or a comment or a suggestion.
Sure.
Why don't we go for adopting the norms as they stand tonight? At least we'll have something in place, and then we can always amend it as we go along. We want to keep them, we don't want to have them too cluttered, and a couple of things here are well, a couple of things are repeated, as Ms. Jalaji said, or so there's a few things are repetitious that kind of already go hand in hand with some of the things that are on here. So I would suggest that we accept the norms as they're written so that we can get them in place, and then maybe we can fine tune them at a later date. Thank you.
Mr. Ireland?
The only problem that I see, since it's a work session, the only problem I see against that is they're so vague. It's be on time, be prepared, be present, be professional, be proactive. I think there needs to be some substance to our board norms, and then we agree on those board norms, and then we go forward. Something to keep your seat is a board norm. That should just be common practice or something. So that's the only thing I see if we can go through with our norms.
Mrs. Bird?
I agree. I think that the norms continually develop trust. What does that mean? How do we measure that? What does that mean to us? If we're going to have norms, they should be more substantial. And we represent a very large district, and we're looking at norms that have 3 words in them. Maintain an open mind. Well, what's behind that? Like, how do we encourage that amongst each other? Well, I feel like we are the leaders in an academic community. We can do better than this. And yes, we need to get our norms going for sure. But we're at the top, and I feel like we can do better than this, and we can do better than this collaboratively. And the goal was for us to do it at the retreat. But the retreat, we had so much training on things that we've already been trained on that we didn't have enough time to have a deep discussion and really set our norms and our goals together in a way that I don't feel like this represents the best that we can do. So I would like to table it, and even if over this next week, we have the regular meeting next week, we can discuss it then too. But maybe develop these a little bit more, in my opinion.
What would you suggest? Do you have some language?
So I do have some language.
Okay.
For example, engage in meaningful, professional, focused, and open discussion. That has a little more meat to it. Or, for example, express our opinions and beliefs about issues. Board discussions will be open and candor encouraged. Honest disagreements are legitimate and have an appropriate place on the board. However, board members will respect one another's opinions and will not criticize one another in an inappropriate manner. That has meat to it. So, and I have other suggestions too.
So I'm open to taking, you sent me something, I can put it in here. I can type quickly if you want me to put that in here as a starting point, if that's what you guys want tonight. I type fairly quickly. It's up to you. If you don't have yours electronically, I can just retype it. I am going to, yeah.
I have mine in a Google Doc. I have another example. Make our decisions based on the available information.
If you share the Google Doc with me, I can put the Google Doc up here, and then we can just work. I'll be sitting over there. It's easier for me, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll do that. Let me set that up 1 second.
I just don't want this to drag out until.
Right. If you can share with Steve, Christy, that would be, Mrs. Bird, that'd be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just change my permissions so that he can open it.
Mrs. Sullivan.
When we made up our board norms 3 years ago, we used one word or two words to describe things. Because we're all professionals and hopefully we all act professionally and we understand, what something means rather than giving more flesh to it. I think you're doing a lot of words when you have a bunch of professionals sitting in front of you that should automatically understand their behavior.
So I think we have a lot of different ideas about should they be short, concise, should they be more detailed? We did break off into groups at our offsite. There was a good bit of time. Each group, came at it a little differently. So now we're spending some more time. We're together. This is the only thing we have left to do this evening other than public comment. So why don't we do the best that we can for tonight? And again, we can always enhance them more, but let's get at least something in place. So sort of a compromise, right? So some are looking for much more detail, some are looking for less detail. Let's just sort of find a compromise level of detail that we can all sort of live with, getting statements down that express what we want to do.
I'm going to set it up there and you'll see it over there. You shared it with me or not yet?
Mrs. Bird.
So, if the majority of the board wants to move forward with the norms that are there, then let's move forward with the norms that are there. I think words matter. I think norms should be measurable. I think, yes, we are all professionals. That's why everything we put out should look professional and be written professionally. But we're waiting on public comment. We probably have people who are waiting to discuss agenda items, and to sit here and piecemeal things together right now, when I think we could do it in the background a little bit and discuss it next week and come to a decision next week maybe, or just go with what we have now. But to continue discussing it and going back and forth, we have people who probably want to call in and share their thoughts about agenda items. So if the majority of the board wants to move forward with what we have, let's move forward with what we have and compromise. That's fine.
Well, I think the majority of the board wanted to work together tonight, so that's why we agreed to all do this. So that's what we are doing. We're doing what the majority of the board asked last meeting. They asked if I could hold. We were going to adopt the norms last regular meeting because we had worked at them at the offsite. And the majority of the board said, let's work on them collaboratively tonight at our work meeting. So now, do we want to, sort of kick the can down the road again? I think we should get something down, but I'm open to thoughts. What is the board? What is the pleasure of the board at this point?
I think what we have is a framework to work within, and by adding a lot of words, some of the things that you said is common sense, and we do repeat ourselves a couple times here as far as separating the roles of responsibility. So I think these would work, but if the rest of the board wants to follow through and add more to it, I'll wait.
Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Mr. Allen?
We talked about this last meeting. The majority said, let's get through with it and do it. Those were suggestions. If we can get through it, that would be great. I mean, administration, what do you guys think? Maybe we send it in for next week. We send on all of our documents. Maybe that will be better. And then we craft a better response, and then we can come back maybe next week and give 1 week to it. But I think me, as a brand new board member, I would like to see actual substance to the words, because that's what we're held to. That's all.
All right, well, why don't we try this? Why don't we go through each of the segments one at a time, before, during, and after, and just we'll entertain suggestions. So we did some work with the before. Does anyone else want to make a suggestion to whether it's to add, subtract, simplify, elaborate in that first section? Any further suggestions in the first section before a meeting?
I'm going to incorporate what I do have from a board member, that way that is the
Okay.
suggestion, if that helps.
See, we can do it.
You can shift that to clear now.
Ms. Nye, is there a way to? Yes, thank you.
Since I got this now, I really wanted to patch it. Actually, do the rest of the one recommendation. I'm just going. Try to make it as big as possible. So format-wise, one of the suggestions is not breaking before, during, and after. Just have it as board norms as we did before, with just a list of norms. So I'm going to add these words towards the bottom.
Okay.
Because it doesn't belong in a certain bucket, I think, right?
Does anyone else want to do that? Do we want to get rid of before, during, and after?
Mr. President, I have a suggestion also. Ms. Anaya, can you go back to the area that was highlighted?
Yes.
Can you break that up a little bit? I mean, that's kind of like a lot in one lump. Just bring it up to where it starts on focus on the board's role. Drop that down and make it another. There you go. That makes it a little bit easier to understand. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so we'll stay with before, during, and after?
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other thoughts for the before section? Additions, subtractions, alterations?
So making an attempt to attend, is that a before or is that during? That one's questionable. There's different recommendations here, but they don't belong in a bucket. So I'm trying to break out which one would be considered before. So make an attempt to attend all board functions, including committee meetings, and remain informed of activities, programs, and incidents in the district within the board's purview. That may be like a before thing. Attend, or is making sure you attend all that during the
I'm
meeting?
not sure that's a norm for our meetings.
Okay.
You know, I'm really not happy with any of this, to be honest with you folks. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here steaming over this whole thing. You know what? I like the suggestion where all of this be sent in, put on a document so we can all read it, and then look at it next week and discuss it. I don't like being forced to, I can't even read that. And I have Patrick next to me, I'm trying to read his. I just think we need more time. I don't like being thrown stuff tonight, and I have to make a decision tonight on it. I don't like any of that. I don't mind if a way to move forward is what Christy said about accepting what we already have and then maybe updating, but I'd rather, everybody send in your suggestions, somebody, administration, Chandra, put a document together, and then we'll look at it next week. Because this would be ridiculous tonight. I'm sitting here going, I don't even know what you're talking about.
This is what the board asked to do.
I know, but you know what? It didn't come out right, because we should have seen this stuff ahead of time, not just being thrown at us now.
Well,
you know, that's bothered me.
This is what the board asked to do.
I agree, Pete. I know you're doing what you're supposed to do, but we can change it.
Right.
We have time.
Okay.
I mean, I know these norms should be in place, I guess. I don't know. We are professional. We're members of this body. We've all sworn to follow the guidelines. You know what I mean? We've already signed our ethics things. We did all of that. How much more detail do we really need anyway? I mean, I'd like clarification. I think what I'm hearing, I'm not disagreeing with. I just think we're spending a lot of time, and let's move on. I don't know. Just getting to me.
So if we send in things, if everyone sends in, what's
The difference would be
gonna
this would be
happen
already
with that?
typed up. That's what, so I can
All right.
type this, but it's.
And we
then
can
you're
look
gonna
at the
have this novel.
Yeah.
So then are we all gonna make our own additions and subtractions, and we're gonna do that at next week at a business meeting? We're gonna sit around.
Mr. President, I have a comment. I think at this point, that's probably the way to do it. I think we're going to need more time. It's just, we need more time rather than sit here and make adjustments like we are now, where we don't quite all understand what we're looking at. And I just think it's going to take a little more time, that's all.
Sure, okay.
Thank you.
What time? I mean, that's what I'm just trying to get from folks.
Well, I think maybe we
First,
should
when
spend a
I
little-
asked that last time at our business meeting, everyone said they wanted to do it together at the work meeting.
Let's work on it
That's
between
what
now and the
everyone
next
wanted to
meeting.
do.
Let's
Okay.
work on it between now and the next
All
meeting.
right. But how are we gonna work on it, though?
Well,
What is
send in
it
our
that we're gonna
suggestions,
work on?
send our
Okay.
suggestions in maybe to Ms. Anaya and, you know, go from there so that we can present this next week and then take another look at it.
May I make a
Mrs. Burr,
suggestion?
sure.
We submit our recommendations by Friday. That gives administration Friday through Monday to type it up, including Monday, sorry. And then we have time to ask questions like we normally do, and then we can vote on it next week.
Go ahead.
May I wasn't sure.
Probably same question, go for it.
Yeah.
My only question or thought or I guess idea is if you're going to do that, my suggestion would be maybe to give administration some discretion, because if three people have the same concept idea, so you're not having 3 bullets saying the same thing, and to merge it into one so it's more of a simplified version, because otherwise you, as Mr. Castellano said, you might have a novel, and that's obviously not what you want to do for a board norm. It should be something you look at, you follow, relatively concise, clear. So I think if you would do that, you'd have to give that discretion to administration to sort of narrow that down.
Okay, so we're gonna send in our ideas to administration, and they're gonna distill it down, and we'll look at it at our next regular meeting, which is next week. We'll see if we like it, and we'll go from there. All right, Mrs. Sullivan.
May I clarify that our board norms that we're writing are what we do before a meeting, during a meeting, and what's the last? After a meeting. So is this our behavior as a board member across the line through the public, or is this in reference to what we do for our meetings? My understanding is these norms should be what we do during the meetings.
That's how we had it. At our retreat, our facilitator suggested we look at it in terms of the before leading up to a meeting, which would, the perfect example would be the agenda questions. Then the during, and then the follow-up to after. But this is not an overall code of, you know, some sort of conduct or whatever. It's norms during our meeting. That's the focus. That's what we had in place before.
May I just suggest that maybe we should, anyone who would like to send something to Chandra, make it either Wednesday or Thursday, not go to Friday, so they have a little more time, and it's not a weekend activity for them, basically.
Well, my question, if it's supposed to be a board secretary compilation, there's not much work entailed at all. It's just compiling the information, and if it's the similar comment, make it the same. That part isn't bothering me. Am I just compiling though? Because then you said take action. So it's going to be a compilation, and we'll number them, so it makes it very clear to say pull number 3 from here, or modify. When we actually talk about it next week, is that okay?
It's going to be difficult to take action.
That's what I'm saying. If it's
we'll
just
get
a
to next week
compilation,
and it'll be,
a discussion.
well, I think we need more time, and I want to look at it some more, and we need to discuss it more.
I just want to make sure I'm meeting the expectations. So I'm going to number them instead of bullet them by category, compile what's being sent. You can do it by Friday. It's fine.
Mr. President, I just have one more comment. So in the meantime, we'll just extend the norms that we have in place now until we can get this finalized. So I don't think there's a problem with that. So thank you.
Very good. So our norms in place now will be in place, and we'll work. We'll all get things in by Friday. Will work for you?
Yep, Friday 4 o'clock is fine.
We'll all get suggestions in by Friday 4 o'clock.
By noon Monday, you should have it uploaded for your review.
Very
Noon Monday.
good. All right, we will get this done.
Later. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
She gave a thumbs up.
Okay, we'll let Terry and Tamika know about that. So let's go ahead into communications. We have a new board calendar. Just a reminder that our prior decision was that as of the beginning of the school year in September, we will return to fully in-person meetings. Mrs. Sullivan?
I might not remember, but why are we having 2 Monday committee meetings? Is there a reason for that? Instead of Tuesdays?
Yes.
Yes. So are you talking about August and September?
Yes.
You're looking out on the calendar in front of me. August, National Night Out, that's not happening. So we planned for that in January. When we made the calendar, we can shift it to Tuesday if you prefer. That was that Monday, and the Monday in September we are off.
There's
day before it's Rosh Hashanah, so it's either observing that evening.
There's one in November on a Monday.
Oh, November, maybe.
Election day.
Ah, okay.
I have to pull that up. Yeah. See which one.
So if we could change the one to Tuesday?
Yeah, I was going to ask if anyone knew about National Night Out. So
it's not happening.
We can switch the August meeting back to the Tuesday.
Okay.
Right?
We'll make that happen.
And
committees in person, can we clarify?
Yes. And then September, we're going to go back to full in-person board meetings. Well, you know, I think committees should be in person now at this point, but I think that'll be up to our, chairs to make those calls. I think we should return to in-person, but
if you're not going to be in person, I just ask that you don't wait until the Friday or Monday before the meeting, because we have to plan now for food again. So that was fun this past week. If you go out some ahead of time.
Okay.
If you choose to not be in person.
Do we have anything before we go to public comments? I'll just ask Lou if there's anything from the New Jersey School Boards Association.
Thank you, Pete. I participated in the first County Association Leadership Hybrid meeting on Monday, July 12th. The guest speaker was Dr. Matt Murphy. He's the superintendent for the Ramsey School District in Bergen County. His topic was the social and emotional well-being of his students, and he feels it's the #1 issue facing young people. They take a district-wide approach up there in Ramsey. A concern is the students who were fully virtual for the entire year. 9th graders who were never in the high school. 7th graders who were never at the middle school. So they are concentrating on these students this summer so that they may have reduced anxieties in the fall. He suggested that districts connect with the county mental health programs, and many of you know Amy Hassa from Hamilton Township. She's very active in our county mental health programs, and she's willing to, if we need any assistance, that told us just contact her. She'll be happy to help give us any assistance in that area. The school board's legislative liaison gave an update. He suggested that all the necessary information will be in the latest school board notes, so we can read it there. There will be a leadership meeting in August that will be a hybrid in the southern part of the state, but no date has been set yet. Your county officers met with Nadja Hoskins to plan our fall meetings, and we have a full schedule. The meetings in the fall and in the spring will all be hybrid meetings. So that's going to be an interesting experience. The meeting that I'm talking about was also hybrid. They started at 5 o'clock for those who are in person, who had dinner there. Then at 6:15, they opened it up to all the hybrid folks. They had 28 folks in person, 23 folks in person, 48 hybrid. So that's interesting. That's still, this was in Mercer County. That's still so many people went on a hybrid meeting. So our meeting dates, our first meeting will be October 13th, and the topic is regionalization, which is a hot topic right now around the state. Our next, I'll get you these dates later, of course, but December 6th, it's going to be creative ways to use ESSER funds. And February 3rd, it's going to be student start times, another hot topic that's going around for discussion. The March 8th, if we have the typical 8th grade dialogue, that'll be in March, and then our spring dinner will be May 11th. So I certainly will share those as we get closer to the meetings. And thank you for the time again at this meeting.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Delabarca, just a question, sorry, Mr. Kessler.
Sure.
The question on the creative ways to use the ESSER funds, was that January? When was that? Because the grants are due by August, excuse me.
Well, I know, but
November's the deadline.
for some reason, this is what the advice we got from the school boards too. Patrick was with us.
Okay.
They decided on the December for it. So.
December?
Yeah.
All right, if they
December
are open
6th.
to suggestions, moving it to the fall before November's deadline would be more helpful.
I
for
will
us.
bring it up with Nadja.
Thank
I can
you.
certainly talk to her about it.
Because by then you had to already commit to how you're spending it.
I'll make a suggestion to Nadja and Ray Penn
I
and see what we
appreciate
can
it.
do.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to go to public comment. Is there anyone here with us in person who has a comment? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead to our phones, and I'll just go over some of the guidelines while we have we put our number up on the screen. Comments are 3 minutes. We'll ask for your name and address for the record. We cannot, as you all know by now, discuss personnel or litigation. And in the case that you may have a complicated question, we may need to get back to you with a full answer. So we will go to the phones.
It is now live. We'll give it a minute. Ding.
Okay. Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, so we'll go to then, I'm sure we'll have some comments and questions next week, certainly as we're into August. And I think people are just trying to enjoy summer a little bit. And now I'll ask if there are any board member comments before we wrap up. Anything? Seeing none. Administration? All right. Very good. Can I have that motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you all, to everyone at home. Thank you for watching. Please enjoy your summer. Please stay safe. Again, if there's anything that you feel we can do for you here at the district, for you, for your family, for your student, please reach out to us. So with that, I'll ask, we have the motion. Raise our hands by acclamation. We are adjourned.